And welcome back to the Daily Dribble podcast, guys. As always, I'm your host, Nick Zammit, here back with another massive installment of the Daily Dribble podcast. The halfway point of the season has now come and gone in a blaze of glory, yet there's still a lot of things to play out across the course of the regular season. No doubt all the heavy hitters are going to play a monumental part in that, but there's also players that thus far have failed to live up to expectations who I think have more gears to go to in the latter half of the season. I've got four names that I'm going to shine a light on today. As I said, players that I think can help teams that are somewhat struggling at this point get their seasons back on track and, elevate to the next level. It'll all make sense very, very shortly. Also got my MVP of the week and some very quick odds and ends to rip through first and foremost. But firstly, just want to give a shout out to both Stadium Scene and The Cover, both those networks continuing to showcase my work here at the Daily Dribble, as well as a whole host of other content creators in Australia, New Zealand, the US, and Canada. Very, very appreciative for all their continued hard work and support. It really does mean a lot. Okay, let's get straight into things with some odds and ends real quickly to rip through. Starting firstly with the news that the Hornets will be without Brandon Miller for the remainder of the season. Now, he underwent surgery for a torn ligament in his right wrist during the week. Up until this point, had averaged 21 points, 5 rebounds, 3.5 assists across the 27 games that he took part in this season. It's not ideal. The Hornets certainly weren't going anywhere this season, so it doesn't impact them too much moving forward. But it's just disappointing with the sample size that we've got to see LaMelo and Brandon Miller. It's certainly not extensive by any means, but I think you'd have enough confidence to believe that this is your backcourt of the future. That being said, across the rest of this season, expect some very, very big stat lines there from LaMelo Ball. He doesn't have a hell of a lot of support there in Charlotte. Josh Green, he's not it. They've lost Nick Richards now. Josh Okogie, I don't think he's going to be stuffing the stat line either. Taj Gibson, absolutely not. So LaMelo is going to have to really carry the brunt of their offense. So expect some huge numbers put up there from him. In another injury blow, a big one to Dallas once again, Maxi Kleber has suffered a broken right foot. He's going to be sidelined for an extended period of time with that one. And for the Mavs, it just means that they're now without 3 of their 4 big men. They've got Maxi Kleber, Derek Lively, and Dwight Powell all on the sidelines at the moment, leaving only Daniel Gafford to carry the brunt of the 5 minutes there, or the 5 position minutes, should I say, for a bit of clarity. He was a name that was mentioned as potential trade bait on last week's show. That's certainly, I think, going to be reevaluated now that their centre stocks are certainly depleted to the utmost extent. But it just really makes their road to the playoffs that little bit harder now. They've still got Luka on the sidelines. They sit 25 and 22 on the season. Good enough for 9th in the West at the moment. But by no stretch of the imagination are they kind of solidified there in a play-in position. So without a competent big man, I think they're really going to struggle. So watch this space over the next week or so before the end of the trade deadline if they make any moves, but certainly expect Daniel Gafford to stay there. In other trade news, before the deadline, ahead of the February 6th trade deadline, news has come out just today that the Kings are expected to open up talks to potentially deal De'Aaron Fox. Now, there's going to be plenty of suitors for him. It's believed from reports that have gone to ESPN that he has a target destination in mind. Now, I'm very interested. No specific team was given as such that I was able to track down there. But very, very interested to see what this team is, first and foremost, and how things are going to play out over the next week or so. Fox is a huge name. He's a bona fide, I wouldn't say superstar. I would say he's a bona fide star, absolutely. Probably on the lowest rung of superstar, but still an incredible player. So dynamic. One of the toughest players in the league to guard. Like speed, very, very similar and comparable to that of Ja Morant. An absolute headache for defenders. So I have no doubt wherever he goes, he's going to be a huge contributor. But that is one that I'm really looking forward to seeing how that evolves over the next week or so. I'll be sure to keep you guys posted on what eventuates. So it's imperative that you continue to stay up to date with all the socials, Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, and TikTok to get that latest news as soon as it drops. And just finally from odds and ends, 35-year-old Isaiah Thomas. Now, he's not giving up on a return to the NBA. Two-time All-Star. He is signed to the G League with the Utah Jazz affiliate team, the Salt Lake City there. Now, last season in the G League, across 4 games that he played, he averaged 33 points. Now, that was good enough for a call-up to the Phoenix Suns. Wouldn't say he was a huge contributor once he got back into the NBA. But yeah, I don't doubt 35. He's still got gas in the tank. I think a team would be willing to take a bit of a chance on him. Again, we'll see if this G League stint that he's got there with the Salt Lake City can ignite that interest from teams around the league. But certainly don't be surprised to see Isaiah Thomas return to the league. I don't think in recent time there's been too many players that have had a bigger fall from grace than him. He was an MVP level player there with the Celtics, went to Cleveland in that deal for Kyrie Irving, and it really more or less fell apart from there. Was in and out of the league. Now got to make his way back through the G League, but I have faith in him. I would love to see him once again come back to the NBA. I don't think it's going to be in a huge role, but I still believe that he can contribute to many teams around the league. So watch this space as well. Alrighty, guys, let's move ahead.
Daily Dribble.
Right. As I mentioned at the top of the show, these are players who I think need to give more. I've got 4 names here that need to elevate their game in the back end of the season. More or less, they're from teams that are struggling at the moment, these players. If they're teams that have any hope of making the playoffs play in, these guys need to step up. All 4 are capable of doing so. They've shown it throughout the course of their careers thus far. But the season to date, it hasn't been as good as it could be. So, as I said, 4 names that I think need to step up. I'm going to start first and foremost with Joel Embiid of the Philadelphia 76ers. We are 45 games into the season for the 76ers. Or 46 it might be, today, with the game today against the Lakers, in which they got up pretty emphatically. I know, it is 45. My apologies. Embiid's played just 13. 13 out of 45. That's just not good enough. And for the 76ers, they are still on the outside looking in to just make the play-in. They currently sit 11th at 18-27, a game back of the Bulls there in 10th. So they're not even in a play-in position at the moment, which is just crazy given the talent that they had going into the season. Now, last season, Embiid averaged 34.7 points, 11 rebounds, 5.5 assists, 1.2 steals, and 1.7 blocks per game, all while shooting 38.8% from 3. Incredible numbers. Absolutely phenomenal numbers there from Embiid. The former MVP this season, as I said, only 13 games, so a small sample size. He's put up 24.5 points, 8 rebounds, a tick under 4 assists, under a steal a game, and 1 block. And that while shooting 32.7% from 3. That is just a ludicrous drop-off. Now, if the Sixers want to make anything of this season, it really does hinge on Embiid getting healthy and playing to a level that we know he's capable of. It better happen quickly. Reports are that he's not far away from a return. But as I said, this team, going into the season, they were a team that many had predicted for a championship or a conference finals at the minimum. At this point in time, making the play-in, let alone the playoffs, is going to be a stretch. So they need to get their act together. Embiid in particular, he needs to get back on court. He's the barometer for this team. I think Tyrese Maxey has been incredible. He had a plus 40 game against the Lakers today in what was a very, very impressive win. They got up 118-104 in that one. Maxey dropped 43 points. But they need Embiid. They need a big man that can dominate. And behind Jokic, you would say he is probably the most dominant big man in the league. So he's hoping the Sixers can get him back as soon as possible and playing to a level that, as I said, he's capable of. Last season, 35 points per game. This season, under 25. That's a crazy, crazy drop-off, and it's not going to be good enough for the Sixers to get over the line. So Embiid is a name that I think needs to step up. Secondly, heading out west to the Bay Area, the Golden State Warriors, I've gone with Buddy Hield. Now, Buddy joined the Warriors in the offseason. He was the Klay Thompson replacement, more or less. And he really came out and bowled from the word go. Now, he was getting MVP talks. That was only, probably a fortnight into the season. He was getting very, 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 very early MVP talks. But that has dropped off considerably since that time. On the season, he's now averaging 12 points, 3 rebounds, 1.5 assists, whilst going 37% from 3. Now, this is serviceable. This is serviceable, but certainly not as eye-catching as the way that he came in and set the Bay Area on fire. It is exactly like the 76ers. The Warriors are a team that are in a real dogfight at the moment just to even make the playoffs. They currently sit 11th, like the 76ers, with a 23-23 record. Now, they sit a game back of the Kings, so they've got plenty of work to do. Buddy, so much of this team is reliant on Steph. Now, they play probably alongside Memphis the deepest in the league. Yeah, I think it's almost time that Steve Kerr, he needs to consolidate this roster a little bit and play some of his heavy hitters more minutes. Buddy is absolutely one of them. Now, as I said, Buddy, he's not going to be a guy who gives you 25, 4 and 4 a night. No, don't need that. 12 points, you bump that to 16, 17 on 40% from 3. Look out. That is the player that the Warriors need. That's the player that they were getting at the start of the season. And that's the player, if they want to make a push in the postseason, that's the level of player they need. I have faith that Buddy can get there. But as I said, Curry needs help. Wiggins is trying. Green's in the fold. Moody, Kuminga, Trace Jackson Davis. They've got a lot of young players. But they need some of these older, more experienced guys to step up. Draymond needs points on the board. As I said, Buddy Hield. Work to be done in San Francisco, but he's hoping Buddy can get his act together. My third player will transition back out east, down to South Beach. Now, I've gone with Terry Rozier. Hard to believe that this guy across the 2022-2023 season, he was averaging 21 points, 4 rebounds, and 5 assists a game. Like that's solid numbers. This season, not quite as good. He's playing 28 minutes a night. He's started half of these games. He's averaging 11.9 points per night, 4 rebounds, 3 assists, and 28.8% from 3. Now, this is alarming given at one point across his career, he was a plus 40% shooter from deep. Often around that mid to high 30s. Nothing to bat an eye. Like that's more than adequate. 28, a tick under 29%, that is not good enough. He's more than capable of delivering more than what he is. And for a team that's really lacking offense, he's a guy that needs to step up. To be honest, I quite like him in this bench role, but I just think he needs to be more aggressive and hungry. Without Butler, he's gone without being gone at the moment. Like, he's effectively done. It's imperative that they have guys that step up and score. Like Rosie, like the Heat are a solid team. They're a team that across the last 5 years or so, they haven't been great, but they're just solid. And that's what they are again this season. But if they want to step up and make some noise this postseason, they need Rozier and co to step up. I think Tyler Hero, he's the guy on this team now alongside Bam. They are running the show, but they need running mates. I spoke about Steph needing running mates. Bam and Hero do as well. And I think Rozier, as I said, once upon a time, averaged 21.4 rebounds, 5 assists a night, to going at under 12 points per game. Only 30 years of age. He's got plenty in the tank. And I really think if they want to get going, Rozier is a guy that needs to step up. Fourth and finally, back out west, we're jumping coast to coast. I've gone from the Portland Trailblazers, Anthony Simons. Now, the stats I'm about to mention are prior to today's game. He actually performed pretty admirably, which is always the way, given I was about to kind of bash him a little bit in this piece. But he's the youngest player of the four, 25 years of age. He has regressed considerably across the board in all major categories this season compared to last. Now, last season, he averaged 22.5 points, 3.5 rebounds, 5.5 assists at 38.5% from three. This season, that's dipped to 18.5 points, 2.8 rebounds, 4.7 assists on 36.9% from three. Again, that's, like as I spoke about with Buddy, that's adequate. On a team, though, that really lacks a real star, he should be the go-to guy in their starting lineup. This, given that Scoot, probably one of the players that they want to build around predominantly, he's playing off the bench. Simons is the guy in that starting lineup that can really ignite, catch fire, and be that go-getter. They lack that. I think for the Blazers, even if they don't see Simons as part of their long-term plans, which it feels like they might be pivoting away from, I think it's advantageous to them that they look to maximize him and his output to reestablish that trade value more so. Get the best possible return on him and use those assets to continue to build for the future. Now, as I said, he's shown potential, absolutely. Across the last few seasons, he's had some huge performances, single-handedly carried them to wins. But at the moment, it just feels like he's stagnated somewhat. He needs a big second half of the year just to reignite that career a little bit, potentially join a winning franchise and really take his game to the next level as he begins to enter his prime. I think he's got more to give. I know he's got more to give. The Blazers, again, a team that aren't going anywhere anytime soon. They currently sit 13th, 18-29 in the West. They're 6.5 games back of the Kings. You certainly wouldn't expect them to try and push for a spot there. Been better as of late. But I think on a player-by-player basis, Simons has more to give. So he's my fourth player. Just to recap that, guys, these are 4 players that I think need to step up in the second half of the season. Firstly, from the Philadelphia 76ers, I had Joel Embiid. From the Golden State Warriors, I had Buddy Hield. From the Miami Heat, Terry Rozier. And fourth, from the Portland Trailblazers, Anthony Simons. They are 4 players that I think need to elevate their game in the back half of the season. Would love to hear your thoughts. Who would you have? Let me know. Hit me up on the socials, Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, and TikTok, guys. What did I get right there? What did I get wrong? And who do you think is going to be a bit of I don't want to say a breakout star, but who's going to step up across the last 35, 40 games of the season? Let me know. Alrighty, let's move ahead to my MVP of the week.
Daily Dribble.
MVP of the week returns. This week, I've gone a team. I've gone with the New York Knicks. Now, after a slow start to the season than many thought, they are piecing it together. They sit third in the East at the moment, 1 game back of second there, with a 31-16 record. They're currently riding a 4-game win streak. Karl Anthony Towns, since his move from the Minnesota Timberwolves, is playing some career best ball. The crowd is pumped. Madison Square Garden is absolutely rocking. It just feels like they're settled a little bit. There's absolutely an ironing ironing out period. There was growing pains, integrating such a big piece into that starting lineup. Likewise, Mikal Bridges coming across. It was always going to take a little bit of time. But at the moment, things are looking peachy. And if the playoffs were to start today, I wouldn't want to face the Knicks. I think they would give most teams in the East at the moment a red-hot run for their money. And I expect big things from them across the remainder of the regular season into that postseason. So thereby, as I said, that 4-game winning streak, they are my MVP of the week. Alrighty, guys, there concludes another massive episode. As I said, would love to hear your thoughts on all of it, what I got right, what I got wrong. Be sure, wherever you're listening to this one on Apple Podcasts or Spotify, or watching this and seeing my mug on YouTube, be sure to like, comment, share, subscribe, do all that great stuff. I really do sincerely appreciate all the support. You guys make the show and are the reason I continue to do this week in and week out. Nevertheless, I will leave it at that for today. I hope you all have a tremendous rest of the week. Enjoy all the action on court, off court, as we rapidly approach the trade deadline. And I'll be sure to keep you up to date with all the latest news as it breaks. Till then, though, guys, take care, and I look forward to speaking with you soon. Just remember, though, be good or be good at it. See you guys.